What's that?
All right, we're going to get started real quick. Sue says she got something super planned, real quick and short message. So I'm going to turn the time over to Sue for a second. We'll turn it over to Jeremy.
Oh, I can go for Jeremy? I don't know. Yeah.
Sue's going to introduce Jeremy, who's going to introduce Cody.
Okay. That's actually why I'm up here, to introduce Jeremy. Just real quick, I'm Sue with Vanguard. I have just a quick title tip for you. I won't take very much time because I want to give the full time to who we have presenting today. But I don't want you to raise your hands, but I just want you to think about it. When you have a listing, when do you order the title report? Just think about that. For any of you who say when I get it under contract, I just want to go over really quickly why you shouldn't do that and that you should order it as soon as you get the listing. We're still running into this a lot, especially right now where things are still turning pretty quickly, is people are waiting to order that PR, and then we're finding out that there's somebody who's deceased on the title report, and you didn't know because they didn't tell you because they don't think it's important. But it's really important that you order that as soon as possible, because the other reason is if you get a cash offer and they want to close in 3 days, you get your title report back and you have it's in an LLC or a trust, or like I said, somebody's deceased or they're divorced. And I teach a class on this, and I always talk about how people think that like things magically happen. Like they put in the divorce decree that the other person gets the house, so they think they magically come off title, or somebody dies, so they think they magically came off title. Like people really think that this stuff happens. So it's really important that you order that PR right when you get the listing. I mean, I know there's some title companies that will tell you not to because it may not ever get sold. We don't really care about that. We would rather have you get it ordered and know what you're dealing with up front than to wait and have an issue and get a cash offer that you now can't close. So does anybody have any questions on that? Jason?
I'm good.
Perfect. Well, then I would like to at this time introduce Jeremy Laguerre. He has been in real estate for 40 years.
40.
Really experienced.
40. Hey, how about Sue, everybody?
You just want to hear the rest of what I had to say?
Well, I'd love to hear. I was starting to get nervous because you said 40 years. And I'm like, so actually a funny thing that happened.
That's how old you are.
Well, do you know Rachel?
Wait a second.
Rachel Green, who joined my company that I owned previously with Dave Parker. I was 25 years old. Dave was like 26 or 27. And Rachel Green comes in, and we're talking to her about joining our company. And she told us later that she went to her husband. Her husband said, "Well, tell me about the owners." She says, "One guy's Dave, He's like 26, 27 years old. The other guy's Jeremy. He's like 40, young 40. So I guess I'm like 60 to her now. Hey guys, thank you so much for being here today. We are really lucky, fortunate, and thrilled that Cody Watts has been willing to come and share a few thoughts with you. And I didn't want him to get up here before I had a couple moments to say some neat things about Cody. He has been a very close friend of mine for, I was just talking to him, probably close to a decade. 40 years since we both got the business. But I do want to tell you a little bit about him. When he first came to work with me and Dave, he had just barely had his license. I mean, just barely, I believe, right? Less than a year, I think. And man, he is the prime, perfect example of someone who will not get outworked. And I think it's one of the greatest compliments to Cody in the world. Anybody watch Peyton Manning when he retired in his press conference? Anybody?
No.
You should watch it. It's kind of a cool little movie. But but one of the things I found interesting is that Peyton Manning talked about all of his accomplishments and who he was, his life on the field and everything. He started getting choked up when he talked about the fact that no one would ever outwork him. And every time I hear that speech on Facebook or whatever, I think of this man right here, because he won't get outworked, and he's proven that time and time again, and he has succeeded at very high levels. I think I heard through the intercom that he was going to be talking today about thinking big, overcoming challenges, and that kind of stuff. Guys, we sometimes look across the room, and I'm not going to get personal here, but just here's a guy who's been through some challenges over the last several years that has persevered, who has absolutely continued to do his job when the times have been tough, and he's continued to see lots of success. He sold over $17 million in volume last year, 2016. I think he's already done that this year. He's matched his numbers, his totals from 2016. He has now matched them through 3 quarters of 2017. So this is a guy we need to pay a lot of attention to. So guys, welcome to the stage for our time, and thank you, Cody Watts.
So I just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about thinking big and just believing in yourself, removing those self-limitations. We all have self-limitations. I personally am not a big thinker naturally, and I've learned a lot and surrounded myself with people that have helped me to think big and intentionally going down that path of learning and growing and thinking bigger and bigger every single year. I think just the way I was raised, not a huge thinker, and I got into real estate, almost 11 years ago, 10, 11 years ago. And as Jeremy mentioned, I didn't know what I was doing. I signed up for his brokerage.
I didn't say that.
I know, I had no idea what I was doing. And aligned myself with Jeremy and Dave, and they helped me a lot. So I want to talk to you guys today about how to think big, how to get to the next level, how to surround yourself with the right people, learn the right things, do the right actions to get to where you want in life. So, as I mentioned, I joined Dave and Jeremy's brokerage there. I was making like $10 an hour, leasing apartments. I thought I was, doing pretty well at that point in my life. And who knew I'd be to this point in my life? And I believe that I've accomplished so much more than I ever even thought was possible, more than I even knew was possible. And it's a lot of because of the people I've surrounded myself with. Dave and Jeremy, they helped me immensely. I worked part-time as an agent for maybe 2 years, and they believed in me. I saved up enough money to survive for 3 months. If I didn't make it in 3 months, I was gonna be homeless, I was gonna lose my car, my apartment, and I didn't have much of that time, so I didn't really have a lot to lose. But I was gonna be in big trouble, so I quit my job. I said, I've got enough money to live for 3 months. Can I make this work? And Dave and Jeremy, they believed in me. And they told me I could do it. And I quit my job and I took that leap of faith. And I had this blind faith that I was gonna succeed no matter what. I burned all the bridges, so there's no way to go back. I literally burned the bridges because this was what I wanted to do. Here I am today. Obviously, I made it past that, first 3 months, and I just realized that we all have limiting beliefs in our life. We have limiting beliefs, and those are stopping us from being as successful as we deserve to be and getting what we want. And it's human nature to doubt, and our brains aren't really designed to be as big thinkers as we need to be. They're designed for survival mode, designed to look for what could go wrong. It's designed to protect you. So I want to tell you just a little bit about my story, a little bit about myself, and I tell you these things not to brag, not to make myself better to be better than anyone else, because I don't think that. But I'm telling you these things because it was a huge impact in my life, being around bigger thinkers and knowing their incomes, knowing what was actually possible. For example, George Morris. George Morris is, he is a great guy. And when I was at my old company, no one really knew what each other's incomes were. And I didn't, I knew it was possible in real estate to make 6 figures, 100,000. I didn't know that it's possible to make $1 million a year in real estate, 500,000, 250,000. I had no idea. I just didn't know that. I never met any agents that were making that kind of money. And there was always some big producers in our office, but it wasn't really talked about. And then George Morris bought our company and brought us over here. And it's interesting. I knew that I wanted to be more successful. I never knew about Mike Ferry coaching or the coaching programs out there. I had no idea this stuff even existed, but I knew that I needed to get to the next point in my life. And George Morris had come to our brokerage once a month and talked about, he did kind of like a coaching session for our brokerage, a training once a month. And he did that for several years. And I seeked him out and I sent him an email. I said, hey, I know that you do this coaching for brokerage. I don't know, is this something that you do private coaching? I had no idea. I didn't know George very well. I didn't know that he did private coaching. He says, yeah, come and meet with me. I came over Century 21, met with him, got signed up for his personal coaching, and he always told me, okay, well, I'm very good friends with Dave and Jeremy. You have to stay with their brokerage. Don't come over here, but I'll coach you and help you be successful. I agree. That was part of the contract of me being coached. Little did I know, 6 months later, George was buying the brokerage and they knew about this. I had no idea. And I was trying to align myself with people like George to get to know more and succeed at a higher level. And I've been coached for the last 4 years now. And if you guys don't have a real estate coach, if you're not doing the seminars, the coaching, the training, I highly suggest it. I would never not have a real estate coach now. Think of the pro athletes. They're making hundreds of millions a year. They all have coaches. They don't show up and say, hey, I've made it to the top. I made $100 million this year, $200 million. I don't need a coach anymore. Of course not. So it amazes me that more real estate agents don't have coaches and people helping to guide them in life. So be coachable. It will help you a lot. There was a time, let's see here. This was probably a year, maybe a year and a half ago. I was at the Superstar Trade. I just want to tell you a little story about, I'm sure a lot of you guys know I drive that red Audi R8 outside. A lot of people don't know, but that's my dream car. And the story I want to tell you about that car is kind of, it helped me think bigger. My brother, he's naturally Chase Watts, he's naturally a much bigger thinker than I've ever been. And about a year and a half ago, he talked to me and he's like, we're at the Superstar retreat for Mike Ferry, and he says, hey, you know, what are your goals this year? Oh yeah, I have these income goals, you know, I want to buy more rental properties. But he asked, well, what are you going to do with the money? I don't know, just make a lot of money. Well, why? You know, what drives you? And I really couldn't answer that because I never really set any goals to have really nice things, to do big things. I always had a really limited belief and small mindset that, hey, I had to work and save and I couldn't really spend. I was always really cheap my whole life. I was definitely the penny pincher. Not so much anymore. But I was talking to my brother about that, and I had this car that I always wanted, the Audi R8. And I said, you know, and I was with my family at dinner, and I'm like, you know, this is the car I want. This is what I want to buy. This is my goal. And Chase is like, that is so cool. You can do that. And another family member says, hey, you know, you need to be more realistic. You know, come on. That's a $200,000 supercar. Be realistic. And it kind of made me feel bad. My brother takes me aside and says, don't listen to that. If you want that car, you can have that car. You work hard, you can do whatever you want. 6 months later, I own that Audi R8. So don't let other people tell you what you can and can't do, because there's some of the biggest regrets in my life is not doing what I knew I wanted to do and listening to the limiting beliefs of other people. You know, I think naturally a lot of people are kind of like crabs. If you stick crabs in a bucket, they catch crabs in these big, you know, baskets in the ocean, and the crabs will climb in to get the bait, and a whole bunch of crabs will climb in, and when one starts to climb out, the other crabs will pull them down and kill them if they keep on trying. And that happens a lot to all of us in life. Don't be that crab that pulls down the person that's trying to get to the top and be successful. And I'm sure we all have a lot of family and friends that are, you know, not so optimistic and always want you to play it safe. Playing it safe, you know, never really gets anywhere. Never takes you really where you want to go in life. So don't be afraid to take risks. Think big. What's really possible? I was telling the story about George Morris and the incomes. You know, when we moved over here, he was very open about, you know, hey, this agent's making this much, this agent's making this much. And it blew my mind, you know, because I think naturally in society, people, it's a bad thing to talk about success. It's a bad thing to talk about incomes. And George wasn't afraid to talk about incomes and success. And it really made me think bigger. It made me realize, oh man, that's possible. There's agents making $300,000 a year. I had no idea. I didn't even know that was possible. I never met anyone making that much money. No, Dave Stocco, some of the top agents when I moved over were doing great. And it's because I knew what their incomes were and I realized what's actually possible. It was a lot easier to get to that point and be able to do that when you know and believe what's possible. It's like the, is it the 7-minute mile or 6-minute mile? 4-minute mile. One of those minute miles. You know, how long did that take for, and I don't know the exact numbers on it, but I heard no one could beat the 4-minute mile for so long. And then one person did it, and I believe like 10 people did it in the next 12 months or something, because they realized, wow, that's even possible? How come no one did it before? So believe what's possible. Think bigger. I intentionally surround myself with big thinkers. For example, I have a mastermind group every day that I have two female agents in Canada, 2 agents in California, and an agent in Cedar City, and we're in a mastermind group, and these are all top producing agents that make a lot of money, and I intentionally surround myself with people who are bigger thinkers than I am, and that are playing at the level I'm playing. And they talk about your worth, your net worth, your income is determined a lot about by who you surround yourself with. You know, they say your 5 closest friends, the average of their incomes are usually your friend or your income. Don't be afraid to think bigger and seek out people who are doing a lot more than you are and learn from them, because it will help you learn and grow as well. So I intentionally put myself out of my comfort zone as much as I can. And there's a lot of things I've been doing that have been putting me out of my comfort zone. You know, last year, I would not have ever imagined that I'd make so much money. You know, with my real estate commissions and my investments last year, I made just over 600 grand last year. And this year, I'm going to even surpass that. And if you asked me if that was even possible 3 years ago, I wouldn't have believed it. But I started going to, you know, the Mike Ferry events. I started seeing people making $1 million a year, making $750,000 a year, making $2 million a year, doing our business. Why can't we do that? If there's people out there doing it, it's possible for us to do it. They're just normal people. They're just more disciplined, have the right mindset. And I realize a lot of this business is mindset. 80% mindset, 20% mechanics. I'm not the most skilled agent out there. There's agents that are way more skilled on the phones than I am. Know their scripts a lot better. Know how to, just a much better salespeople than I am. But I'm a hard worker. And I think if you work hard and if you believe in yourself, you can really do anything you want. You know, my goal is to make $1 million a year in the next 3 years. And I had somebody tell me the other day, you know, I was talking about, I actually went to prospecting school last week for 2 days in Las Vegas for Mike Ferry. And I like to go to those 2 to 3 times a year, because I can go surround myself with people that are doing a lot more than we are. Yeah, you got some great agents in this company. You know, Justin Udy, the Josh Johnsons, the Phil Harveys, that are just killing it. But even all those agents, you know, we're not at the level that they're at today, even a few years ago. And I realized if you just keep on keeping on, keep on elevating your mindset, elevating your income, feeding your mind, you're going to keep on making more money, living the life of your dreams. You know, this year I put myself out of my comfort zone a lot. You know, I'm building a $650,000 house this year. I never in a million years could justify it. I used to always think, you know, oh, I could never own a house like that. I would never want to own a house like that. That's just silly. And I convinced myself, that's silly, that's stupid, that's a waste of money. And I look back to those days and I think, wow, that was really small thinking. I really didn't believe in myself very much. And, you know, I'm building a $650,000 house, but I also own 19 rental properties. They're going to pay for that house. If you would ask me, you know, 7 years ago, how much real estate I was going to own in the next 7 years, I would not have guessed this much real estate. But I believed in myself, and I just kept on going and going and going and elevating and you know, getting the coaching, going to the seminars, surrounding myself with big thinkers, the Mike Ferrys, the Tony Robbins. You guys, you know, aren't going to the Mike Ferry seminars, do it. If you guys haven't been to Tony Robbins seminars, do it. You know, I just got done with my 5th Tony Robbins seminar in the last year and a half. And It's helped me elevate my mindset a lot. And I go to some of these seminars, and I consider myself nowadays a pretty big thinker and pretty successful, but I like to go to some of these, the Tony Robbins Business Mastery seminars where I'm sitting next to billionaires, sitting next to people owning, companies worth $50 million that are much bigger thinkers than I am, and it makes me realize that I'm such a small fish. And that's why I like being with a company like this versus a small company that charges me less. People always ask me all the time, gosh, you're making so much money. Why don't you go start your own brokerage, or why don't you go to a place like Equity where you can save a lot of money? Because I pay Century 21 a lot of money, and there's a reason I don't. Yeah, I could go save on transactions by intentionally stay at a company like this, because there's big producers. They're doing a lot more than me. There's people for me to look up to. There's people that want to help me. The George Morrises, the Jeremy Legears, the Rick Bentleys, that are helping me to think bigger and expand my mind. And the money I pay Century 21 to be here is worth every penny. And I can't say I have any plans on leaving or think I would leave. So think about that. If you guys are ever thinking, hey, I need to switch brokerages because they're charging too much money, that is such a limiting belief. If you're not, having an assistant because you're trying to save a few bucks and do the paperwork yourself, or not hiring the TCs to do that, that is such limiting beliefs. Why are you not driving the car you want? Why are you not going on the vacations that you deserve to? This year, I probably worked less hours than I've ever worked in my whole career, and will make way more money than I've ever made. Why is that? I think it's all my mindset, really, because I started realizing, hey, I don't really have to work 7 days a week to make this kind of money. But for a lot of years of my career, it was I had to work 6 full days, 12-hour days, a week to make the kind of money that I want to make. And I realized, that's silly. Why don't I just work 5 days a week? Why don't I just enjoy my weekends? And I've got more important things now, like, a family, a great relationship, a daughter, personal life that I want to be great. And not just, I'm not just talking about thinking big in business. Think big in your personal life. What vacations do you want to go on? I've been on 14 vacations this year. I can't believe how much money I make and how much time I take off of work. It's silly, but it makes me happy. And that's what I want in life. Because I realize I work really hard so that I can play really hard. So I can live the life of my dreams. I can have what I want. I just hired my second assistant a few weeks ago. And I wish I would have hired a second assistant 2 years ago. A year ago I was talking to some of my peers about hiring a second assistant, and a lot of people talked me out of it. Oh yeah, don't hire that second assistant because it's going to cost you an extra 30 grand a year, and you're going to have to work so much harder to pay that. And I didn't, and that was a huge regret. And that's what I'm talking about. Don't listen to the naysayers. Do what you believe and think big. I think I would have accomplished so much more, this year and last year if I would have hired that second assistant last year when I was looking and then got talked out of it. And I finally did it this year. And I can't believe how big of a difference it makes. There's going to prospecting school, surround myself with people that are, gosh, there's a gentleman, Dustin, that we hung out with that's 27. He just made $750,000 selling real estate last year. His 3rd year in business. How many of us are making $750,000 in our 3rd year of business? And I started talking to him about it. Michelle and I went out to dinner with him and went out to a show with him and, just picked his brain a lot. He charges 7% commissions. He will not take a listing for less than 7%. And I said, no kidding? Don't you worry about the sellers that you're gonna lose? He said, no, I don't care about them. I'm like, man, this is me, even last week saying, I don't know if I could justify charging my clients 7%. He said, why not? Well, gosh, there's probably people that won't list with me because they feel like I'm ripping them off. That's the wrong mindset. That is such small thinking, I realize. And yeah, he says that he does lose some people. He sends us pre-listing package, and there's people that cancel just because he charges 7%. And when people ask him to discount, he says, nope, I charge 7%. If you can't afford me, then I'm not the right agent for you. But you pay for what you get. And this guy's making so much money. And he says, it doesn't matter. Those sellers that, don't list with me because I'm not willing to discount less than 7%. He says, I make so much more money on the sellers that do list with me for 7%, that those ones I lose, that income's already made up of that extra percent on every single transaction. Now that's big thinking in my opinion. That guy's on track for some big things this year. Being in your 3rd year in business, good for him. These are the people I try to surround myself with. So don't be afraid to separate. Don't be afraid not to listen to the naysayers. Because you guys can really do whatever you want if you believe in yourself. There's a lot of my investments that I put together. Rick Bentley has been a huge mentor for me since I've been here as well. I have honestly made in the last year over $150,000 just from some advice that Rick Bentley gave me. Some sellers that were losing their properties to foreclosure, and I just couldn't help them, and they're upside down, and I'm like, oh, should I go through the short sale with them and get some advice? And he's like, why don't you just buy that property? Some of my properties I'm buying on seller financing. Who cares if I'm paying a little bit more than that it's worth? The market's going up, they're cash flowing, and what I'm saying is, don't be scared to think out of the box. For example, one of my clients, went to prison, and his girlfriend was living in the house and not paying the payments, and they're just like, whatever, we're letting this go to foreclosure. And I came in and was wanting to listen. They're like, no, who cares? We don't care. We're just going to let it foreclosure. I was able to buy that property on seller financing. I did a flip on it last year. I made $75,000. And that was because of Rick Bentley's advice. And I was thinking a lot smaller than that. Be accountable, guys. I intentionally put myself out of my comfort zone as often as possible. This mastermind group I have from these agents across the country, we get on Google Hangouts every single day from 9:30 to 11:30, and we prospect together. I can see every one of those on my screen. They can see me prospecting, and we have some big finds. If we miss a day of prospecting, it's $1,000. Who likes to lose $1,000? I don't. So it's a lot easier just to get on and prospect for the 2 hours and do what I'm supposed to do. So if you guys aren't achieving and succeeding at as high of a level as you want to be, why is that? Sometimes it's just, lack of accountability. I say I'm a pretty disciplined person, but I'm pretty good at negotiating with myself on doing things that I don't want to do, and talking myself out of doing what I should do. And I realize that. So I intentionally put those things in place with accountability. We have to text each other in the mornings how many contacts we're going to make, how many appointments we're going to set. Text each other at the end of the day how many contacts we made, how many appointments we set. We have a per minute fine. If you're not on Google Hangouts prospecting, you're losing money per minute that you're late. And it's hard. We've all lost a lot of money because of it. But I made a hell of a lot more money than I would have ever made if I didn't have that accountability. I didn't put myself into that uncomfortable zone. And you know, when I'm talking about sending that text to my mastermind group in the mornings of, hey, this is how many contacts I'm going to make, this is how many appointments I'm going to set, it's intentions. I've stated my intentions. And a lot of us just show up to work, and you don't have intentions to set an appointment. And there's a lot of people, a lot of these agents that want to be successful, but they just show up to work and they haven't set an appointment in months. Is because you're not intending to do that. Declare. Decide. Decide to be successful, guys. Decide what you want. You know, and I just keep on thinking bigger and bigger as well. You know, my next goal with my investments, you know, I want to do some 1031 exchanges. I want to buy these big apartment buildings. I want to buy that 70-unit apartment building. And just keep on growing and growing that wealth. And a lot of people ask me, hey, you know, aren't you scared if the market shifts? Or the what ifs. We all have the what ifs. Well, what if you buy a rental property and there's a vacancy? What if? Then you fill it. But what if you buy a fourplex and you have 4 vacancies at once? Then you have 4 vacancies at once. Deal with it. Move on. Solve the problem. It's not likely that you're going to have 4 vacancies all at once. But there's always that drunk monkey in your head talking you out of it, telling you what you should be scared of and what could go wrong. And a lot of us don't take that leap of faith and have blind faith because we're listening to that drunk monkey talking us off the ledge, talking us into submission and not thinking big and not doing what we really want to do. So don't let that happen. Now be uncomfortable with being uncomfortable. We're not growing unless we're uncomfortable. And there's things that scare me. You know, a lot of people, as I was talking with my investments, a lot of people ask me, hey, aren't you afraid if the market shifts or if you have vacancies or if you have a big repair? Yeah, you know, that stuff all happens. It's part of the game. You know, what if you're driving on the freeway and an asteroid hits you? What if all of a sudden you have a heart attack? Life happens. You can't always control what's going to go wrong, but you can decide what you want to go right, and you can decide how you want it to go. So take those risks. If you guys aren't buying investment properties, this is silly. We're in such a great business. We see the deals before anyone else does. Get creative. You don't have to have 20% down. Very few of my properties I put 20% down on. You know, I got creative and owner-occupied a bunch of them. You know, FHA loans at 3.5% down on multi-unit properties, and I made a 3% commission, and negotiated a 5% commission on one of them, and made money to buy the property. And a lot of people just think, oh yeah, I'll have 20%, or, you know, the what ifs. Take that risk, be bold, have blind faith. Same with showing up to work, you know, going to door knock, making those prospecting calls. I'm sure all of us have those times where we have the call reluctance. And we're not prospecting all day like we should. We all know what we're supposed to do, but why don't we do it? The drunk monkey, that happens to me too. That happens to all of us. But the people who succeed at the highest level do what they need to do, no matter how they feel and whether they want to do it or not. You know, I want to talk about limiting beliefs. I used to have this limiting belief that I couldn't go you know, when I'd see an expired listing come up that was a $900 or $1 million listing, I would not call it. I was terrified. Why? These are just people. Some of them make more money than most of those people. And I always had this limiting belief that, oh, it's so scary dealing with those people that own $1 million properties, or, you know, I was really comfortable working with, you know, first-time home buyers, and I could do that really easy. But when I started working with a buyer or seller that was at a 500,000 price point, I'd get really nervous, and I'd have these doubts in my head. And I don't know, I look back now and think, I don't know why. You know, this year I'll sell 3 properties over $1 million. And I realized, why was that so scary? That wasn't scary. Same with commercial real estate. I used to always send out my commercial real estate referrals to Kurt Matz, and I started realizing, why didn't I do those? Because it's scary to me. It was terrifying. The what ifs. The what could go wrong. We all started this business not knowing anything about real estate. And what do? You learn. You learn, you grow, you figure it out. You know, this year I've sold commercial buildings, big apartment complexes, done commercial leasing, and I started doing these transactions. You know, last month I made a $75,000 commission on a $1.2 million industrial warehouse building. I double-ended. And I used to always discount commissions because I always thought, oh, I was ripping people off, or, oh, especially at a higher price point, like, oh, my self-worth. I didn't have enough self-worth, and I'd always discount commissions at a higher price range because I thought, well, I'm doing the same amount of work as a $200,000 property as I am for a $500,000 property. And I started shifting my mindset. Now I very rarely ever take, you know, listings under 6%. You know, last week I just closed on 1.5 million, full 6% commission. That one I double-sided last month, full 6% commission. I just took an $8 million listing at 6% commission. And guess what? I'm going to go double-side that. And I'm going to make $480,000 in commission. And guess what? I'm not just going to make that money. It's a land, 34 acres of land in Highland City. And I started, you know, talking with these big thinkers about my listing here. And one of the guys brought up, well, why don't you put the developer in place? You know, why don't you prospect the developers yourself? And I took the listing thinking, oh yeah, I'm stoked on 3% here. You know, it's still $240,000. I won't complain about that. But he started telling me, hey, that's such small thinking. You don't have to give away any of your commission. You just call those developers and you don't offer them the 3% commission. They're gonna be stoked to buy that land and develop it. And they're gonna, who cares if, you know, you're making more money than you think. And then when those developers come in, you get them to sign a listing agreement on all those lots. After they develop it, you're that agent that sells all the lots. And then when you line up the builder, you've got a listing agreement to sign to sell all of those homes. This commission could, you know, this could turn into, you know, $2 million of commissions for me in the next few years if I structure this right. But I never thought about that. Why not? Until I surrounded myself with people, big thinkers, that were getting out of the box and creative. I would have never in a million years thought that I'd be, you know, selling real estate and the millions of dollars. And I realized this year, it's not scary. I could go sell commercial buildings. I'll go prospect these, you know, people that are worth hundreds of millions of dollars. They're just people. People appreciate a good salesperson. So believe in yourself, guys. How many of us, you know, have limiting beliefs on those price ranges? You know, how many of you guys are scared to prospect $1 million listings? Probably a lot more than raising your hands, because I know that was me. So surround yourself with people who are gonna bless your life, influence it, help you grow. You know, get into coaching. Look at the Mike Ferrys. Look at the George Morrises, the Rick Bentleys. Make yourself something. Be inspired and learn from them. Have the blind faith. We don't need to know how it's done. You just have to know what you want. Decide on that end result. Decide on the end goal. The how will come. You'll figure it out. That's what gets most people caught up is like, how am I going to make $1 million? And then you start overthinking it. And then you decide that that's too scary. Or that, there's not a way because you haven't thought of that way yet. Stop doing that. Decide on what you want. Decide on that goal. And be driven towards it. And the how will come. It's like driving from California to New York at nighttime. That's a long drive. You don't have to see from California to New York, see every turn, every stoplight, every highway, every road that you're going on before you journey. You're going to drive there and you know that you're getting to that place. You know your end result. You can only see 30 feet in front of you with your headlights. That's all you need to see. You don't have to see the whole path of how it's done. You just have to see that 30 feet in front of you, driving in the dark, and you'll get there. If you believe you will. And if you decided that you're going to get there. What questions do you guys have for me? Chase?
I have two. Well, first of all, if people don't know, I wanted to get the Audi R8 so I could drive it. And I do it as well. So, obviously, a lot of people in here, they see your success and everything, but what they don't know is personally, you've had a rough few years in your personal life.
Mm-hmm.
So, with all the hard things that happened in your personal life the last few years, what things did you do to not let that affect you in your business? Or maybe it did affect you in your business for a while, but what did you do to get out of that, to keep that focus?
And I hadn't been so great at choosing relationships. So 2 divorces later, a child, almost being taken to the cleaners for all my assets twice. I can get a lot of people down. And it's very stressful times. And there were some really rough times. And, being a single dad, and trying to raise a baby that I didn't know how to raise a kid. Figure it out. And I could have let that destroy me. I could have let that bring me down and my business, be shattered. And a lot of people do that. A lot of people have craziness going on in their personal life and they let it show up in their work. They choose not to prospect. They choose not to have that mentally tough mindset and just do what they need to do because they're feeling sorry for themselves. I chose the opposite. I said, I can only control my own actions. I can't control actions of, these women that I married and, how crazy they've been. And I can't control, and that's why those marriages are done. And, I had a situation where, my wife broke a vase over my head and was holding a newborn baby, and she went to jail, and just some crazy shit. Like
to the phone prospecting, all in 1 hour.
I told you, he had a rough few years.
I had a lot of really crazy stuff. The people are like, you went through that, like, and I don't let it show up at my work. I decided to let those challenges fuel my success. I decided, I can't control that. It is what it is. Move on. Learn your lessons. Make better choices next time. But use it to fuel me to succeed at a high level. Be successful. And to answer Chase's question, some of those things that help me a lot is my intentions, my focuses. We all can choose what we focus on. Do we choose to focus on all the hard, crappy things in our life? Or do we choose to focus on the things we're grateful for? Things that we can control. The successes in our lives. Some of the exercises I do is, journal writing. writing 10 things we're grateful for, and they do that in the morning meetings, guys. If you're having a hard time with your mindset, show up to the morning meetings. Write the 10 things you're grateful for every day. Write your goals every single day. I can't believe how many people I talk to that don't have a goal that don't have goals. If you're just, coasting through life, you're not really going to accomplish and get big things. Have those goals and decide on it. And make those goals so big that they scare you. Because that's how you're going to grow. And it doesn't matter whether you achieve that goal. Because, I had a goal of making $500,000 in commissions, net commissions paid to me from the company for the last 3 years. This is the first year I'll actually do that. With, last year with my investment and commissions, yeah, I made much more than that. But my goal is to make $500,000 in just commissions, make an extra, $200,000 in my investments. And I choose to focus on those things. And I honestly don't know how I've made so much money and accomplished so much, and I keep on accomplishing more. But it's because I've decided what I want, and the how will come. So, do your journal writing. If you are focused on things that you're grateful for, it's hard to be fearful. When you're forcing yourself every single day, it's the small disciplines, guys. It's the small things that bite you. Who's gotten bit by an elephant? I don't know anyone who's got bit by an elephant. But what about a mosquito? It's the small things that bite you. It's the small little disciplines. And it's like constant course corrections. When a pilot is going from one side of the country to the other, they're constantly making course corrections. They don't just set it in one way and just, not worry about those course corrections. Otherwise, they're going to show up at a way different place. So make those constant small course corrections in your life. Focus on what you want. Focus on those things that you're grateful for. Focus on those things that you love in your life. Focus on those things that make you happy. This is why I've done all the vacations. This is why I drive that car. Because that makes me happy. Because that's what I want. That's why I'm building this nice house. This is why, I do what I do. Because I want to be happy. I want to live that life of my dreams, and I choose to be happy. And I choose to be successful. Any other questions?
Disciplines and some of your skill building.
So disciplines, and I'm not always the most disciplined person. I'd say I'm probably more, most people look at me and say you're way more disciplined than most people, and I probably agree, but I'm pretty hard on myself. Simple, small disciplines. How many contacts are you going to make today? How many appointments are you going to set? Are you following your schedule? Are you waking up at the same time every day? Are you going to the gym? Are you exercising? It's amazing how much exercise and eating right will affect your mental mindset, will affect your business. If you guys aren't doing it, do it. Track your numbers. I have the Mike Ferry numbers analyzer. I track my numbers. I know exactly where I'm at in commissions. I know exactly how many sales. I know exactly how many listings. I know my listings to appointment ratios. I know how many buyer closings I've had. I know how many more that I need to have to reach my goals for the end of the year. I know how many contacts I make every day. Track those things. Track the small little things. Because where your focus goes, your energy flows. You want to grow your income? Focus on tracking all your numbers. Focus on your budget. You want to focus on, trying to save money on every little thing and pinch pennies. And, I think it's silly that people are driving, 10 minutes away to save 3 cents on gas. If you know what the price of gas is, that's a problem. That is small thinking. We all have to fill up our tanks anyways. Don't know those things. Don't look at the prices when you go to the grocery store. Buy what you want. Because if you focus on, oh, I'm not going to buy this, and this is a big problem I had my whole life. You know, I was a tightwad. I was cheap, and I realized that when I was focused on, it's true. When I was focused on pinching pennies and trying to save and not buying what I wanted because I was worried about saving some money, I didn't make as much money. And I stopped caring about that stuff and just did what I want. I started making so much more money. So focus on the big goals, not the small, stupid little things that don't matter. And do what matters, because there's always things that's important. And some of us show up to work every day, and you're here for 8 hours, but you're not doing any real estate deals. Why is that? You're keeping yourself busy. You're working. It doesn't matter that you show up and do stuff. What matters is that you show up and do what matters. There's always going to be urgent things. Oh yeah, you know, my license plates are going to expire this month. I have to, take 3 hours and go to the DMV. Have your assistant do that. Have your spouse go do that. Focus on the dollar productive things. This is why I hire 2 assistants. This is why I have a buyer's agent, so I can help focus on what makes me the most amount of money. And in my business, I intentionally seek out higher price points now. I work with a lot of investors, and I realized a few years ago, hey, if I go work with investors that have a lot of money, they're doing multiple transactions with me every year, they're doing repeat business, their circle of influence are making more money, they're giving me referrals for people who own expensive real estate as well. And I don't have to prospect as much to find a new client every single day. A lot of my business is repeat and referral because I've done that. And my commissions just keep on going higher and higher because I'm working with higher price points. I put the same amount of work into selling a $500,000 home as I do selling a $50,000 condo. I should probably put more work into a $50,000 condo than the $500,000 home. It's the mindset, guys. Okay. Well, hopefully you guys have gotten some gold nuggets from me and can start to think bigger. And hopefully this inspired you guys. Thanks, Dan. I appreciate it. Thanks, sir. Let's get it.